Welcome to the 2026 forecast. I'm Kathy Rose, astrologer in Virginia Beach, and my co-presenter this year is Agnes Belesne. She is in Miami. Agnes is an amazing astrologer, but her specialty is feng shui. She is a master practitioner, and she is a very talented artist. You're going to see her, behind her is her beautiful feng shui art, and we're going to highlight that throughout this presentation.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Kathy. It will be so much fun. I can't wait to jump into this. I love how we flow together. It's an honor to work with you on this show. And I hope to leave our audience, as you have mentioned, with tons of practical information that is self-empowering and that makes this podcast not only a forecast for 2026, but also a wealth of information, knowledge, and a new basis for learning in 2026 and beyond.
We are so excited because we're going to blend feng shui and astrology throughout the year. And one thing I want to say is it's going to be a lot of information, practical information that you can apply in your life. So I want to recommend that you revisit this video several times during the year so you can refresh your memory for what we say. As we go through the year, you're going to want to do that. It's going to be up on my YouTube channel, Rose Astrology, and all you have to do is go fast forward to the month you're in. All right, so let's jump into the slideshow and show you what we have. Okay, so you can see on screen, we have this fiery horse, and that is because 2026 in February, we begin the year of the fire horse, and Agnes is going to, in detail, explain what that means. The theme that I feel is so important this year is going to be spiritual self-sufficiency, and I will explain that when we get to those key moments. So let's just do some housekeeping right now, which is to give you our contact info. We'll just do that right up front for a moment. My website and email and social media profiles are on screen, and so is Agnes. You can go to her website to see her beautiful art. And if you want to ever schedule a feng shui consultation, which I highly recommend, you can go to her website and contact her there. I also want to say for Agnes, if you follow her on Instagram or Facebook, I highly recommend you do this because she does a weekly astrology energy update and weaves feng shui in that, and they are wonderful, wonderful. One last thing, and that is probably most of you watching know that I put out a monthly forecast video on YouTube. And so when we go through this presentation today, I'm going to be doing an overview of the month, but it won't be as much in detail as I do on my monthly forecast videos. So those forecast videos that I do can enhance what we're talking about. All right, so I'm going to take this slide, which is astrology themes for 2026. We have some big changes that are happening early in the year. February is a gigantic month, and so is April. So I'll be spending extra time on those months when we get there. February, we have the exact Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries. More on that in a moment. Uranus is going to be completing the transit in Taurus and will enter Gemini in April. And when this happens, this is very much going to support Pluto in Aquarius. So Aquarius is an air sign. Gemini is an air sign, and Aries is a fire sign. And what we have is very active energy with air and fire, which fuel each other and creates action. So overall, the key phrase or word or focus for 2026 is action in capital letters with exclamation points underlined glowing in gold. Visualize that, right? All right. So I'm going to turn it over to Agnes in a moment, but let me just say her approach has to do with flying stars. Now, if you have not ever studied feng shui or have been exposed to the flying star concept, it's similar in astrology to transiting planets. So, those of you who are listening, who listen to a lot of astrology videos, you've heard about transiting planets, which means where the planets are right now and how they relate to each other or relate to your natal chart. Well, the flying stars, it's like transiting energies through the directions. So, you see on the left side of the screen a compass with the four cardinal directions and then the subdirections, so that there are eight. I am going to recommend to all of you listening that you go to your phone and you open up your compass app. The iPhone has a compass, and I'm sure Android does too. And you're going to want to use that so that you know how to find the directions that she's talking about and how to enhance them. So, in a moment, in the next slide, she's going to tell you about flying stars. But I want to say the image on screen is the same image that's behind Agnes right now. Yeah, it's a gorgeous piece. Agnes, why don't you tell us about this piece for a minute and why you wanted it on this slide?
Yes, so I love the image of the compass to begin with. Just to clarify that true feng shui is a very precise, very measured, very mathematical science, similar to astrology. And it is not as simplistic as it used to be trendy in the 80s, that to the left is love, to the right is money. Um, in essence, the way I work is to harmonize the personal best directions with the spaces directions and also mixed in a time dimension. So, real feng shui is actually just as personal as a natal chart in astrology. And I would like to emphasize that because just as Kathy will bring up general astrological transits and trends for 2026, I will do the same with feng shui, that these are general trends and each one of us are personally differently aspected by it. Again, it's always the personal with the spatial, with the time dimension. About the compass directions, please note that north is north on the northern as well as on the southern hemisphere. So the universal compass directions are a constant measurement. And my piece, Infinite Blessings, I chose this because in the year of 2026, as I will talk more about it, the element of water is completely missing from the yearly chart. It is a fiery year, just as in Western astrology. And this piece, Infinite Blessings, symbolizes all aspects of our lives as vortex winds carrying high up to the universe your hopes, wishes, dreams, and prayers for 2026 and even in the years to follow.
Mm. Well, it's a beautiful piece.
Thank you.
All right, so now we are going to introduce you to the annual flying star chart. And Agnes, take it away and start educating people on what this means.
So in this chart, you actually see in each of the 9 squares of a symbolic Bagua map, two numbers. The large purple numbers refer to the period we are currently in. Hence, the middle number is 9 from 2024 until 2044, as we have mentioned this in previous podcasts with Kathy. I talked about how the energies in period 9 change. So the large purple number refer to the period of purple fire, that is period 9. And the smaller green numbers and also the white number in the middle are the yearly number for 2026. So the yearly number for the southeast is 9, for the south 5, for the southwest 7. And we will go month by month with each of the specific energetic meanings and what kind of energy it brings into each sector in 2026. And also, if it is important to mention how the period and the yearly number play with each other this year.
Mm. All right, so the feng shui themes for 2026. Take it away.
It is the year of the fire horse, although the Lunar New Year falls on February 17th, but the year of the horse begins on February 4th. What it means is that in Feng Shui, we have a Leptune year, meaning that there is a bit of missing energy, as you see, between the 4th and the 17th, an almost 2 week period. And so we like to compensate that right at the beginning of the year to symbolically bring in spring or fresh energies at the beginning of the year earlier. I will talk more about that. The period 9 cycle, again from 2024 through 2044, is a strong fire element. And within that, we also have a fiery year ruled by the fire horse. This is the year of the horse. The center star and the center stage will be taken by the number one victory star. It also symbolizes wisdom. And I find it very interesting how in the middle of the chart, in the center of every space, we have a ruling water star, when overall in the year's Pachi chart, we have dominant fire energy. So it's almost too much fire in 2026, a lot of earth energy. It's interesting that fire creates earth in the elemental cycle. So these two elements dominate, very little metal, very little wood, and no water. So this will be an element that, although it's in the middle of every space, we will need to counteract and compensate in 2026.
Mm. All right, thank you. Back to the feng shui in a moment. Let me just segue for a little astrology right here for 2026. I'm going to share with you a handout that I have created that talks about the planetary waves, meaning each one of the outer planets, Jupiter through Pluto, what degree and sign will be activated for the year. So we begin 2026 with Jupiter in Cancer. In July, it moves into the sign Leo, an extra enhancement for fire energy at that time. Early in the year, from January to July, Jupiter will be triggering the degrees between 15 and 29. So if you have planets between 15 and 29 in Cancer, you will receive that Jupiter energy. When Jupiter goes into Leo, then when we get to the middle of the year, I'll talk about that. Saturn will be transiting between 7 degrees Aries and 14. It doesn't hit 7 degrees Aries until we get to about March. So January, February, March, Saturn will be hitting between 0 and 6 degrees Aries very quickly. And then it goes back and forth between 7 and 14 as the year continues. So if you have planets or angles in your chart in Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, between 7 and 14 degrees, you will be receiving this Saturn energy if you know how to read your chart. And if you don't, guess what? You can schedule an astrology consultation and I'll tell you. But please remember, Saturn can be very productive energy. If you are receiving the Saturn energy, you can move your life forward in a very practical, foundational way. Uranus, when it moves into Gemini, will be operating between 1 and 5 degrees of Gemini. Remember, that happens in April. Before April, Uranus is going to be triggering 27 through 29 degrees of Taurus. So if you have planets in Gemini or angles in Gemini, or any of the mutable signs are Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces. And if those planets or angles are located between 1 and 5 degrees, then you get to receive this beautiful electricity from Uranus and you get activated for change. Neptune operates between 1 and 4 degrees Aries. It starts the year off in Pisces. It enters Aries early in the year. And I want you to notice I mentioned Saturn and Neptune will conjoin in February. So they will be at 0 degrees and 1 degree of Aries. But then look what happens. Saturn surges forward because it moves faster. So then Saturn will leave Neptune behind. So they will separate. So that conjunction that happens in February is very important. And Pluto is going to operate between 3 and 5 degrees of Aquarius. So you see for Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, the degrees that are activated are the early degrees of a sign, and that's new beginnings. We are starting a new phase without a doubt. So I wanted to give you the overview on what degrees and signs are going to be activated by those planets. And then I'm going to talk about the January astrology for a few minutes here, and then we'll go back to the feng shui. There's something very interesting happening in January astrologically. We're going to be having Mercury, Venus, and Mars in Capricorn until about the third week of January. So, what this means is if you have any planets or angles in Capricorn, you are going to receive those inner planets, and those are activity, those are triggers. When you receive Mercury, Venus, or Mars hitting one of your planets, it triggers action. And when we have all three of them in one sign, that's a concentration. So pay attention to that. It's going to that could be very productive for you if you have Capricorn planets. Starting January 17th, then we have Venus going into Aquarius, and then following that, Mercury and Mars will go into Aquarius shortly afterwards, and that's going to activate Pluto. And that activation of Pluto in Aquarius by Mercury, Venus, and Mars as we go through late January and into February. So if you have planets in Aquarius, then you get triggered and activated. And that's very powerful also, especially working with Pluto. We're going to have some big time growth in understanding about humanity and our connection with each other. January 26th is when Neptune enters Aries. So you see on the left side of the screen, it says completion. That's a big deal. Neptune completing in the sign Pisces and beginning this phase in Aries. In a little bit here, a few slides down the road, I will develop this further. And I do want to say on January 27th is when we have Mars Pluto conjunct. It's not on the screen, but that's an important time for your personal power. Please embrace your connection with humanity, with the lovingness within you, and use this time towards the end of the month when all those planets are in Aquarius to feel good about your connection and the oneness that exists globally with us. So January is a big month.
I agree with that, and I just would like to add that I also love how the first 3 weeks, as you mentioned, we have Mercury, Mars, and Venus in Capricorn. It's almost like completing and reviewing the fourth quarter from 2025. And because I always have this feeling that like the first weeks of every year are very much like closing of the previous one. So it's just perfect from a business point of view, especially if someone has his or her own business. And then all the planets entering Aquarius is almost preparing us for the eclipse that you will mention as we move into February. So all the planets being Mars, Mercury, Venus in Aquarius will prep us later next month for
Mhm.
the eclipse in Aquarius. And so with that, January is also a beginning phase, very similarly to the astrological patterns, because the Lunar New Year begins on February 4th. So we can begin placing the pre-cures for the year. In Feng Shui, we always first try to quiet the intense energies, and then we enhance whatever we would like to enhance. Even though it is the year of the horse that is ruled by the south, but this year we have the flying star number 5 in the south, which I will keep repeating during this slideshow, that we have to keep the south quiet. All it means from a feng shui perspective, that Please do not have any major renovation if you can avoid that. No digging. So nothing that would disturb the earth energy in the south. Simply because number 5 is a strong earth, the south is fire, fire creates more earth. So there is nothing gloom and doom, nothing to worry when I talk about during the slideshow that keep the south quiet. It simply means that if you can avoid any renovation in the south, if you would like to plant a tree and dig a hole, wait until next year to do it, or you still have time in January to do it, but not during 2026. The best way to counteract in 2026 the overwhelming earth energies is by metal placement. And also the north as opposite of the south, the co-ruler of the period. So that can be further emphasized with waters, such as this 9 sailboats painting. We have used this on this slide just to also mention you that feng shui literally means wind and water. And these two elements are the ones that are capable of carrying messages. You can send messages with wind, you can send messages using the element of water. And keep this in mind, especially the water element, as we move into this very fiery year.
Mm. And Agnes, I remember that you put not only a lot of gold paint in your art, but you put a high quality of gold, 14 karat gold. Is that what I remember in some of your pieces?
Yeah, so all of my pieces, the gold is real 24 karat gold
Wonderful.
leafing. And I use a very ancient technique. So Asian people are fond of yellow gold because yellow is the color of increase. So green or wood element symbolizes growth, but the color yellow symbolizes more of something. So more like an increase. And so there is a very ancient traditional hand gesture method that I actually use and incorporate to transfer this energy onto the art pieces.
Wonderful. So tell us about the Southeast.
So the Southeast is the host to number 9, which is a fire element. And in this year, it stands together with number 8. Now, normally the Southeast is representative of young or fresh wood. And in this year, we still can activate the wood part with greens because wood creates fire and fire creates earth. So in 2026, the Southeast is a very strong place because it has more than half of the enhancing elemental cycle. So it's a wood element, wood creates fire, which is the yearly star, and fire creates earth, which is the period. So you can emphasize this for future prosperity or for recognition luck by placing green plants such as a jade plant, a fruit tree, any citrus. That would be the best enhancers for 2026 for this part of your home or office.
And here we have an example of one of her beautiful pieces, the 9 Green Gardens. I don't recall the name of this piece, though.
It is called Emerald Dreams. It's an emerald green color with 9 little gardens. As you see, the square symbolizes the earth element, the square shape, the green symbolizes wood. There is little black dots for water element, and of course the metal symbolizes, the gold symbolizes the metallic element. And each of the 9 gardens has a little seedling in it. So this piece would be perfect for emphasizing the southeast as it has all of these enhancers in one piece.
In the southeast part of my house is the garage, and I'm thinking this would be a great piece to put on the wall that I see as I drive into my garage, just greeting me with this beautiful green energy. Yeah.
Yes, thank you for bringing this up. I actually also do have the garage in the southeast. So it's important if you happen to have the garage, or even if you have no area, if the southeast is missing, you always can compensate the southeast within your home. So if you would like to have more income, more revenue, more prosperity in 2026, you can emphasize the existing spaces, whether they are in or outside of the existing floor plan. But you always can also just emphasize the southeast part of your living room or the southeast part of your office.
Nice. So tell us about this year of the horse and everything that's happening in February now.
Yes, so February is the true beginning of the Lunar New Year in 2026. The year of the horse is just truly special. If you were born in the year of the dog or the year of the tiger, then the horse is also your ally. And the horse's natural energy is fire. So we begin with this heightened forward moving energy in February. And the Lunar New Year always starts with the first new moon of the year, which happens to be a new moon solar eclipse in 2026. And so there are so many rituals around it. Maybe if you are interested in that and if you have questions about it, we can go back to you with those answers at a later time. And we always start with activating the center of every space, which in 2026 would be that if you would like to place a gentle water feature, such as a small fountain, an indoor fountain, a small aquarium in the center of your space, in the middle of the living room, for example, that would bring in very beneficial energies in 2026.
Or a piece of art that has water featured in it, like a waterfall or a lake or something like that, right?
Yes, absolutely. Or even, just a piece behind me that is symbolic with the color of blue, or even become more aware of what you wear, because Kathy's color in black, dark navy, any of the blue colors stand for water element. So you can incorporate that into your wardrobe. Or like I did, I'm wearing white because that is symbolic of metal, and metal holds water. So you should incorporate as jewelry like blue crystal droplet earrings, or blue crystal bracelets, necklaces, rings, whatever you wear on your body that is symbolic of water, because like I have mentioned, there is not enough of it in 2026, and it would balance nicely the fire energy, because water and fire, when you put it together in a positive way, it creates a beautiful, steamy, juicy, supportive environment.
Mm, okay.
And so, number one in the middle, the number one star stands for victory in Feng Shui. Of course, it's a new beginning. It stands for helpful mentors. You can further emphasize this, like I have mentioned, with metal holding water features. As always, keep the space clutter free. And I also would like to add that, like, here comes to play the period number, because 9 and 1 adds up to 10. And that's a very powerful energy. The 10 rings in ancient legends. 10 stands for completion luck, completing a cycle and beginning a new one, just as it happens in astrology with all the outer planets transiting into not all the but like Neptune and Saturn transiting into Aries for new beginning. And this piece, the wave of abundance, I just love this piece. It has 9 pearls in the wave as a beautiful ocean wave washes up 9 pearls from the bottom of the ocean. And as it disperses into your life, the sun shining onto the water droplets turns each and every water droplet into a loving heart. So this is really the piece that you would need to display in 2026 for the missing water energy, because it has all the symbolism in one piece. The little golden chunk on the bottom of the wave, the pearls, and the 9 pearls actually look a little bit like the 9 planets as well.
It's a very powerful piece. I love it. It's wonderful. All right, so now back to astrology in February. What's important is, again, you see on the left side of the screen, completions. Not only do we begin the year of the horse, but I just find it spectacular. Just spectacular. The fire horse and the fire element being so strong in feng shui, and Saturn and Neptune entering Aries. I mean, there is some kind of alignment here that is pretty magical. So mid-month, when Saturn enters Aries and joins Neptune, we begin a new phase. And let me talk about this for a minute here. All right, so you have to understand Neptune stays in a sign for 14 years. So Neptune has been for the past 14 years in Pisces. Very, very different energy than Aries. Now, we had some time in 2025, in the middle part of the year, when Neptune and Saturn entered Aries briefly as a little preview. They've retrograded back into Pisces towards the end of 25 and then 26. They finally enter the sign and stay in there. What I noticed, I've been doing consultations for 42, well, now it's 43 years. 43 years. And it's only when Saturn and Neptune entered Aries for that short period in 25 that I started hearing my female clients saying, I'm feeling imposter syndrome. Now that stood out to me powerfully because that's talking about Aries energy, especially for women. Men are supported and they're applauded and they're congratulated when they have confidence, when they brag, when they say how wonderful they are. Men can say, I was first place, I was top of the class, and people will support them. But when women do that, it's a different reaction. So, what happens for females is when they start feeling really powerful, when they really connect with their expert status, when they start to take risks and expand, sometimes in the background, this imposter syndrome comes up. Am I really as good as I think I am? And part of that is because women have not been praised or supported as much as males. And it's just how it is. It's the difference in polarities. So the bottom line here, as Saturn and Neptune is in Aries, and as they travel together, Saturn will stay in Aries until we get to April of 2028. Neptune stays in Aries until March of 2039. All you women listening, if imposter syndrome comes up for you, just face it and tell it to go away. And please support yourself, support your confidence, be brave. This is what Saturn and Neptune is trying to bring about. Risk your vulnerability, 100% believe in yourself, and just get rid of any imposter syndrome feelings that come up. Now, I'm not trying to implant that this will happen for you. Maybe it will not, and that's great. But if it does, it is part of this process for us as females to be empowered. Very important. And Agnes, don't I remember period 9 has something to do also with the female energy
Yeah,
and
yeah,
empowerment?
yeah, very much so.
Mhm.
Empowering women, strong matriarch energy. Yes.
Very good. So the other thing I'll talk about in a moment is the new phase that begins with Neptune in Aries. But first, let's talk about what Agnes brought up with this eclipse, this new moon solar eclipse on February 17th. It's a concentration. It's at 28 degrees Aquarius. And the charts, and I have them in front of me, you can't see them, but in my monthly forecast videos, I'll be showing these charts. Those of you who watch my forecast videos know I've been talking about the fact that when we have a lunation, a new moon or a full moon, and I set it for Washington, D.C. time, the capital of the country in which I live, if planets fall on an angle, it usually means there's a whole lot of development happening for that country. So, you can do this for various parts of the world. I set it for DC simply because I'm here. And so this new moon in Aquarius eclipse, the sun and the moon will be conjunct the ascendant if you set it for Washington, D.C. Fascinatingly, that is Donald Trump's descendant, opposite of his ascendant. I mean, now, I don't get involved with political opinion. However, I will say there's a whole lot of power and movement, and something big will probably be taking place in February, not only because of all these phase changes, but because of how this eclipse, and it's squaring the planet Uranus when it happens. So that's
And that
big.
isn't it also in aspect with the US moon in Aquarius,
Hmm.
the moon of the United States?
Yes. So there's a lot that's going to be happening.
Yeah.
I have my theories, but it's tricky when you talk about politics because it's a very volatile area. But let's just say there's going to be probably a lot of action happening in the United States in February. So then, February 20th, later in the month, we have the Saturn conjunct Neptune, big dynamic exact aspect at what's called the Aries point. The Aries point is 0 or 1 degree of a cardinal sign, and the Aries point brings about high visibility. It brings something into view. Now, let me just develop this. I know I'm talking a long time here, but this is a very important concept to understand for 2026. And that is the concept that I put on the cover slide of this presentation, spiritual self-sufficiency. So Neptune in Aries, as it activates this courageous fire sign, this fire sign that deals with pioneering and being assertive and marching forward into new territory. Neptune in Aries is going to teach us about spiritual self-sufficiency, about getting our own answers, about empowering our own intuition, because Neptune is the planet of intuition. It is going to be very important for us to learn we are all intuitive, that we are connected, and to activate that central channel that flows through you, through your chakra system, and connect with divine intelligence, connect with your guides, connect with the universe, and start looking within for your answers. Know you can get your own answers. It's a very, again, Neptune's going to stay in Aries until 2039. So, because of this flow of energy, which I think is essential to embrace, it's important that you learn techniques and skills to activate your intuition, that you learn how to turn your intuitive skills on and off on command, that you learn how to filter out outside energies so you are not affected by your environments, that you charge your energy field. And there are various ways you can do this, but I am bringing forward something, a series of videos that I shot 16 years ago. My hair was not gray in these videos. I was a younger Kathy. And it was the first time my husband and I had ever used a green screen. We had released it on DVD. There's 4 hours of learning and many, many meditative techniques and specific pathways for how to activate your intuition, how to use your psychic ability when you need it practically in life, how to activate your soul potential. Um, there's a lot of depth to this course. I am offering it to anybody who might want it, and I'm only asking for a love donation, uh, just for an energy exchange. And that love donation, should you choose to receive these files, can be whatever you want it to be. There's no guilt here, there's no pressure. It's just that it's an energy exchange because I feel strongly about the theme of becoming powerful within, empowering ourselves, learning these techniques. So if you want these files, I send them out by WeTransfer, the video files, and all you have to do is send me an email, and I'll send you an email in response and start sending you the files. And you can start learning. If you already know how to do this, then please engage it. Live the highest version of yourself intuitively, spiritually, powerfully, and develop the confidence that you can get answers whenever you need them. But it's time to educate yourself in this area. That's what this phase is all about. This is not go to a channel and have them tell you what to do. You might be inspired by that, and that's okay, but then you have to take that information and float through your own consciousness to know what works for you. This is you empowering yourself and getting your own answers. Okay, so I offer this to you if you want it. Okay.
I would love to have it, Kathy. It is just such a generous offer from you, a wealth of information, and yeah,
Yeah,
I
I'll send it to you, Agnes. We'll do that. All right, just continuing a little bit with February, there's a little bit more to talk about, and that is towards the end of the month. On the 26th, we're going to have Mercury retrograde. It begins the retrograde at 22 degrees Pisces, and it will remain retrograde until March 20th. It's going to move back all the way to 8 degrees Pisces. So in your natal chart, if you have planets in Pisces between 8 and 22 degrees, you will receive this Mercury retrograde. And I think receiving a conjunction from Mercury retrograde is very powerful and productive. But interesting about this Mercury retrograde in Pisces, we will get to integrate what we learned from the Piscean energy. And I'll talk about that in a little bit later in this presentation. Okay, now back to the feng shui. Now we get to talk about the south. Ooh, go for it.
Yes, and I also just would like to add, Kathy, to what you have mentioned about spiritual self-sufficiency, that it begins with feng shui in reality. So, feng shui is such a powerful tool, and it creates a clean and beautiful, crisp basis for whatever spiritual practice you choose to do. And it creates the right environment to start meditating on a regular basis. And it is just a beautiful, regulated environment that needs to be the basis for activating your intuition with your method, Kathy. So I think it's important for us to create these sanctuaries in our homes, in our offices, to be able to be self-sufficient. All of these we talk about today are very practical tools. Everybody can do it. You can have a clean, organized, clutter-free environment. You can meditate every morning. You have the intuition in you that you can activate with a variety of methods to access information from other realms. So we all can do it ourselves. And as Kathy mentioned, we can be inspired and led by gurus or leaders or religious persons. But in reality, it's inside of us that we have to work with. With that, in the year of the horse, in the south, we will need to use our spiritual tools because there will be a few obstacles potentially coming from this direction. So, as I have mentioned, it is so important to keep the south part of the house relatively quiet the best you can. but specifically no renovation or no groundbreaking, such as digging a hole in the earth in the south. And if you place horse figurines to strengthen the intrinsic energy of the horse, it would be best this year if you would place metal horses made out of metal. The more precious, the more stronger energy it brings to the sign of the horse. And although typically I would suggest wood or fire decoration for the south, this year it would be best to keep the decor mostly with metallic elements.
Which is interesting. I have a bronze horse statue above my head. You can't quite
That's
see it.
perfect, you know.
Yeah, and this is the south part of the house.
It doesn't get any better than that.
And then here is her beautiful, let me just interrupt 1 second. This incredible rising phoenix is hanging on my wall right over here in the south part of my house. And it is such a spectacular piece. It literally fills my office with golden beams of energy. I mean, I felt the palpable shift and I got it, and things have moved in my life beautifully ever since I hung that piece. So, what else do you have to say about this beautiful golden phoenix?
Um, Thank you for that reconfirmation. Of course, I find again the fire symbolism of the phoenix being reborn, from its own ashes, and this art piece with the fiery feathers on the bottom symbolizes this. I am also grateful so many of you have reached out and inquired or invited this piece into your homes for healing. It traveled all the way to Hawaii, multiple places in the United States, and overseas. And many of you have written back that it looks slightly different than this, and it is because I meditate on each and every piece, and these are individual paintings. So no two pieces are the exact same, although they look somewhat similar. But every single one of them is different and sent with a specific energy to you. Like this one was sent to Kathy
Hmm.
for her specifically.
Hmm. All right. Okay, so now we are into the third month of the year, March 2026. The first thing is that, when Mars, the planet of action, enters a sign for the month, it creates a background energy. So early in March, on the 2nd, Mars will enter Pisces and it will stay in Pisces until April 9th. And when Mars is in Pisces, energy meanders softly, slowly, beautifully, gently. It's not an aggressive energy. So this is a little bit toned down. It's going to enhance your creativity and enhance your spirituality. And it will enhance your cooperation because Mars in Pisces doesn't want to win for the sake of winning. It wants to blend and merge. So understand that's the background for March with Mars in Pisces. There is a total lunar eclipse on March 3rd at 12 degrees Virgo. It's a full moon. And I think this one is important because whenever there is a full moon in Virgo, particularly when it's an eclipse, this is when we get incredible nourishment from cleaning, organizing, decluttering. I call it the feng shui moon always. So that March 3rd eclipse is important with Mars and Pisces at the same time. March 10th, Jupiter ends the retrograde and goes direct at 15-degree Cancer. So from March 10th till July, Jupiter is going to race through the second half of the sign in Cancer. And then March 18th, we have a new moon in Pisces. So again, the flow of energy in March has a lot of water, a lot of emotion, a lot of sensitivity. That new moon in Pisces is going to happen at 28 degrees. And Neptune and Saturn will still be conjunct in Aries, but there's a whole lot of creativity that flows through March, a whole lot.
If I may add to the astrology part, I also find it fascinating how we start the year with Saturn still in Pisces, then Neptune moves into Aries, which is a somewhat similar energy, and with Mars in Pisces. Um, Again, not to get political, but the emphasis may shift to navies and ocean.
Mm.
I don't want to say battles, but definitely showing some sort of Martian power
Mm.
in the waters.
Yeah, that is one interpretation of Neptune in Aries with this. Yeah, thank you.
I think Pisces too. Mhm.
Mhm. Okay, just one last thing about March. We have the equinox, the Aries equinox on March 20th. And I find it fascinating that moon is going to be in Aries on the day we have the Aries equinox. So, again, it's supporting the whole theme that we talk about in the year with taking action, being confident, being powerful. And on the same day as the equinox, Mercury will end the retrograde and go direct in 8 degrees Pisces. So we get to celebrate in the northern hemisphere the beginning of spring, and in the southern hemisphere the beginning of fall during that equinox. Very interesting that the moon supports the sun's entrance into Aries. I mean, the symbolism for 26 with feng shui and astrology, so powerful this year.
Very powerful. I love it. And Mercury turning direct on the same day is also like another exclamation mark on that day. What a beautiful spring. What a fiery spring in
Mhm,
2026.
mhm. And the piece of art on screen is a piece that I did with my friend Liza. She did the majority of it, but I did part of it. And I usually use this when I'm talking about an equinox, the reflection of the lotus. Okay, so you get feng shui for March. Tell us, oh, this beautiful piece of yours on screen. I love it. I love the green tones here and the double dragons. So tell us what's going on here.
So these are two dragons, double dragons. They actually kiss in the middle as they are intertwined, and their kiss turns into gold. And each of the dragons, symbolic dragons, have nine balls, golden and silver balls to play with. One possible interpretation also that each have their own set of nine planets. And it's hard to see on the slide, but in real person, and maybe you can see it a little bit, I put the dragon scales on the background of the painting.
Mhm.
So it's very textured, very playful, and it symbolizes this springy energy we talked about, how it's all about moving forward, action, energy, creating things. But we still can create in a playful way or with still the Mercury in Pisces, still in a very creative way, whether it's visual art or music, whatever you create. Interestingly, in feng shui, we tend to be a little pulled back energetically during eclipses. So it's not advised from feng shui perspective to walk under the lunar eclipse moon as it is disappearing. So energetically, that's a very withdrawn energy. So it's best to stay inside and enjoy some special rituals, such as a metal cure or a salt water cure, to counteract the very intense energies of a lunar eclipse.
Thank you.
And so this month, I wanted to talk a little bit about the North. The North, in general, stands for career, for work, for business, for authority and leadership. So we always want to emphasize it if there is some sort of career advancement or business expansion. We are aspiring to. And so this year, although the North has some heaven's luck energy, and its natural water element is very well supported with metal, again, gold accents, even some earth energy. But we don't need to overactivate water in the north this year. And because it also has something that is called the three killings in negotiation. So if there is an important negotiation going on in your life, whether it is the personal negotiation, a business negotiation, anything, try not to sit with your back to the north in 2026. But this is only if you have something very important to negotiate.
Mm.
And so this is one of my pieces where we have together, as I have mentioned, the metal and earth energy. These are beautiful sand circles. So this art piece is created using sand and gold and acrylic painting. And the number of the circles, it almost emanates a sound frequency. So it's a very special, very beautiful piece that can be used to emphasize the North career and business expansion energies in 2026 and beyond.
Hmm. And you'll notice over and over again in a lot of her art, there is the symbol of nine. Nine circles, nine pearls in the wave of abundance, nine gardens in the emerald piece.
Yes, because we are in period 9, as you see on the chart on this slide. So we have number 9 in the middle all through this 20-year long period. So it's a very powerful number. 9 in itself, also in Western numerology, how it's, every number where the digits add up to 9, they are dividable by 9. It's a very special number with many, many symbolisms and meanings in a variety of cultures.
Okay. All right. So now we move to April, another very, very important month of the year. February and April stand out and glow with energy. So, one thing that happens is Mars moves into Aries. So when it leaves Pisces and enters Aries, the background energy shifts, and you're going to be feeling more assertive energy and action moving in a straight line, and maybe even a little impatience from time to time compared to Mars in Pisces in March, which is very patient and flowing and meandering. Mars in Aries marches forward with assertive energy. So it will stay there until May 18th. Middle of the month in April is very interesting because we're going to have Mars in Aries conjunct Neptune and then conjunct Saturn from April 13th to April 17th. And it'll be very powerful during the new moon in Aries, which is April 17. All that concentration of Aries energy for the first half of April. Embrace the inner warrior, the spirit within, the spiritual self sufficiency we talked about. Embrace your courage, take a risk. But just as Agnes mentioned in Feng Shui is about action. Action creates energy, the action of vacuuming your floor. I feel a huge difference in the room after I vacuum or sweep or dust. That action stirred up energy. And I feel a huge difference when I rearrange things. Action, action, action. So it stands out in April. But the big news in April is that Uranus ends the 7 year transit in Taurus and enters Gemini on April 25th. Again, it entered Gemini for a brief period in 25, but that was just a little preview. Now it fully enters Gemini and it will stay there until 2033. So the image on screen is one that I frequently use in my slideshows with a data stream of energy, the busy mind, because Gemini rules our mind and our thinking and our communication. Uranus is an energy of electricity, supercharging us. And one of the things you're going to want to pay attention to for the next 7 years is managing your thinking so that you don't overthink, so that you gather enough information and then you take action, which would be the Aries energy. You don't sit and spiral in analysis paralysis. But the other thing about Uranus and Gemini is we get to develop our ability to place our order with the universe and create what we want based on our thinking, our words, our belief systems. And we're going to see big development for the next 7 years with science supporting that we affect our reality by our thinking. We will see that. You'll see at the bottom of the screen, I have June of 2032. All of this energy leads to this beautiful point in June of 2032 when we have Mars, Saturn, Uranus conjunct at 27 degrees Gemini. That is a marker point. So, towards the end of the 7 years of Uranus in Gemini, we get this consolidation period in 2032. So, if you have planets at 27 degrees Gemini, beware because you will receive this. And this is spectacular, and you want to plan accordingly to get your beliefs in alignment with what you want to manifest. And Agnes, it looks like you have something you want to add. I feel it.
So many things, like everything is so beautifully said. I think just from each slide, we could have a conversation for hours and hours. I really wonder if this is so literal with Mars, Saturn, Uranus, if this will be when the first AI-driven Uranus robot troops will reach Mars and
Mm.
Mars colonization begins, or, the first serious stage, it could be as early as 2032, 7 years from now. I don't think humans will be able to physically travel that far just simply because of the radiation in space, unless there is a new technology for that. And then I think it will be a breakthrough in healing methodologies too, as I believe that frequency and healing with frequency will be a big new arena with Uranus in Gemini. So, as you have mentioned, using our words, our thinking, but using our words and thinking to heal ourselves, and using the frequency from our thoughts to heal ourselves.
Absolutely well said. And I approach astrology from a frequency perspective anyway. I've always taught it from that way. Each planet has a specific frequency. We're going to notice frequencies in life so much more during this cycle, which brings me to something very important I want to pull together. I want to pull together the impact of Uranus and Gemini, talking about taking responsibility for what we say, what we think, what we believe, and the creation of our life, and Saturn, Neptune, and Aries, taking responsibility for getting our own information and believing in ourselves. And I think it's very important to talk about a concept in psychology called internal locus of control, because this is going to very much come forward in 2026. So, the high internal locus of control is a concept describing the belief that we have some control over outcomes related to our life, that we generally have the power to change and improve our situation, like rearranging your furniture to make the energy flow better, that then enhances your attitude and brings about more harmony in life, or changing your thinking, changing your words so you're not saying negative statements all the time, but you are energizing a more positive reality. Internal locus of control is very important. Now, that's contrasted to the external locus of control, which in the end, when Saturn was in Pisces, we got a little bit of the shadow side of Neptune in Pisces for a while, where there was an orientation for putting blame on outside forces. Now, when Neptune started in Pisces, we had to teach people to take responsibility for when they were bullying or marginalizing people. So that was fine. Compassion and unconditional love so that people weren't marginalized, and that was a beautiful part. But then towards the end, it got a little exaggerated and people were blaming outside forces. Not everybody, but some. That was just the shadow side. And in astrology, there's always a shadow side that shows up. But the external locus of control is thinking outside forces affect us. And that certainly can be true in astrology. The planets are doing things to me. And I think the opposite. I do things using planetary energy. So, high internal locus of control is going to be very important for 2026. Meditate on that, think about that. Pay attention if you blame outside energies, like Mercury retrograde made my trip go crazy. Mercury didn't make anything happen in your trip. It just created an energy that you had to flow with. You see the difference. So I think this is an important concept. And in April, with Uranus and Gemini and Saturn and Neptune and Aries, this blooms. It really blooms. And it flows with the fire horse, right?
It absolutely does. And, speaking of this internal locus of control and fire, it can be a very simple, disciplined, and self-disciplined action towards that. All we need is just to keep a little fire in our heart lit when energetically we feel down on one day. But there is no need to give into low, dark, depressive energies. It's also like creating your own happiness or choosing happiness, which we are responsible for. And we just have to be disciplined and keep moving forward with this little fire from the fire horse or from Aries or however you would like to, and to keep the hope and the future vision highly lit with a strong internal locus of control and keep moving forward and keep creating and keep expanding and leveling up.
Yeah, this is a big phase change. It's a very big phase change, personally. Okay, back to feng shui.
So, just a little insight. So, the Northeast will be associated in 2026 with networking energy, with study energy, also with creativity, friendship, and love. So, lean into the Northeast if you would like to learn more about yourself, how to best access your internal locus of energy and how to move forward with that. And also, if you would like to support your children, or if you are a student and you would like to have better results, if you are writing grants for applying a scholarship, whatever you do that has to do with studying or with creative endeavors, lean into the wooden star of the Northeast.
And the image on screen is a piece you did called the
Royal.
Golden Gong, the Royal
Yeah.
Gong.
So this is a very large piece. It is 60 by 60 inches, also with real gold. It actually is a gong with a symbolic kan trigram on the bottom, symbolizing water and metal energies that could be perfect for the north. It could work also in the northeast as well as in the east in 2026.
Mm. All right, so now we'll show you the flying star map and you can talk about this a bit more.
So again, back to Northeast, like I have mentioned, creativity, academics, romance. This is a very nice wood energy, but naturally the Northeast is a wooden energy. So we don't want to overemphasize wood, but we can use symbols instead, like the gong on the previous slide, or pagodas that symbolizes focus, that symbolizes upward growth or expanding from the middle, like the gong has a very beautiful golden spiral in the middle. So don't overuse wood, despite the fact that we have wood energy in an earth sector. You can use a little bit, and you can use symbols that will support your academic and creative endeavors.
You know, it's interesting, Agnes. In the Northeast is my pantry. And I was just thinking, ooh, what am I going to do in my pantry to enhance the energy? Well, obviously, keep it organized and clean for one thing.
You will not emphasize, so pantries, bathrooms, kitchens are
Mm.
really not the place of feng shui emphasis. However, if you would like to learn, if you would like to be more creative, more romantic, then you would need to emphasize the northeast corner of your study, if it is about or office, if it is about academics, or the living room. For creativity and romance, obviously the northeast sector of the bedroom would be best.
Oh, good. I'm glad I brought that up then. And then your wonderful piece here.
Yeah, this is called Sweet Harmony. This is actually a sugar cane field with a sugar cube made out of sand. And this would be just a piece that would perfectly fit the Northeast in 2026 because it just brings a touch of green, a touch of wood energy, but also would be great to emphasize the romantic energies of the sector with the sweet harmony sugary symbol in it.
Mm, nice. Nice.
And then the East this year, it was really lucky. It is still lucky in 2025 as we record this in early and at the end of November. And it's going to be also really good in 2026. East naturally is the wood element sector. We have Earth for prosperity flying into the East. So this is perfect to use crystals if you have any green colored crystals, anything that is green in color, or you can use beautiful large ceramic pots with beautiful plants. That would be an optimum energy for the East to bring earth and wood together in a growing fashion so that you can harness more prosperity, more wealth, more stability. Also, specifically as it refers to wealth in the family and stability and harmony in the family energies as well.
Mm, perfect. And here's the piece that you
So
have
this is
alignment with us.
Yes, it is called the Field of Dreams, and it has four circle-shaped fields and five square garden-shaped fields, and that activates shapes, activate different energies as well. Square stands for earth, and circle stands for metal element. And so this is just a symbolic piece for abundant harvest that you can place in the East in 2026.
Mm, okay. All right. Fifth month of the year. Here we are in May, and the beautiful piece on screen is one of Agnes's lotus pieces. So let me explain. Mars will enter Taurus in the middle of the month. So the background energy, Mars in Taurus, becomes a little less assertive and more enduring, more grounded, more practical. Mars in Taurus is known for perseverance and plowing through obstacles slowly, steadily, powerfully. It will stay in Taurus until June 28th. Um, we're going to have some really interesting energy in May. The sun will conjunct the planet Uranus on May 22nd. That will be in Gemini. And then May 26th, we're going to have Mars squaring Pluto. You need to always manage anytime Mars and Pluto get together or Mars and Uranus. Manage that internally by embracing your power, staying calm, engaging with Mars and Taurus by staying grounded. And so on screen with the lotus grows out of the mud. The lotus is connected to the earth, and out of the mud is this beautiful flower that blooms. Activate images like that kind of feeling as we go through May. Do you have anything to add on that?
I just, for some reason, the astrological chart from China came into my mind with these energies as they have Pluto. I believe China's ascendant is at 3 degree or 4 degree Aquarius. So Pluto is right there.
Mhm.
And Mars will square this Pluto. And I just, looking at the water, the lotus growing from the water, and the chart of China came together
Mm.
in my mind for some reason with
We
that.
may be seeing some activity there.
Some activity, although I feel that the outcome is positive because as we will have Jupiter moving into Leo and this Pluto Jupiter opposition will play out in their first and seventh house in the ascendant descendant axis for China. So I'm not worried about this in any way or form. It just will be some action towards
Mhm.
a
Mhm.
positive outcome that we may be able to see as early as the summer.
And the full moon and new moon in May, those are both very powerful. The full moon in Scorpio is May 1st, the new moon in Taurus is May 16th. Um, I chose not to go in depth on those lunations on this slide now because I will be doing that in my monthly forecast videos. But the theme for May is stay the course, ground yourself, be steady, be strong, no matter what. That kind of is the overriding theme.
Yes. And overall, it's a money month. So Taurus is a money sign. Mars, is a money sign. And speaking of that, also the chart from Bitcoin will be activated in May with
Mm.
all the Taurus Scorpio placement in that chart, with the full moon and so that will be interesting, and this is why I chose to place my piece called Citrine Wealth on the screen, which is created using again real gold and the color of the crystal of citrine. This could be perfect to boost the north, which has, as I have mentioned, the number 6 star. Number 6 stands for heaven's luck. It's a metal energy. So this citrine with gold uh, means literally an earth energy giving, creating more metals. So this is the multiplying energy. And in the month of May, we can boost the north for better career, more business. We can boost the southeast for more revenue, for new income sources or even anything associated, as I have mentioned, with Bitcoin will be in the picture, and we just have to keep the West a little quiet and not activated.
Okay.
And because the number 3 star has flown into the West in 2026. So luckily the West is naturally a metal element sector. Number 3 is a wood element star. And so it is not very strong in the West, but nevertheless, number 3 represents quarrels or it can be legal issues, and you can remedy it with fire energy. Simply, you just can keep a light turned on longer in the west part of your home or in the west part of your office. If you already have any kind of legal issues going on, then just place some red color decoration and keep the light on for even longer times in the western part of your office or your home.
In the west part of our house, we have a salt
Yes.
lamp
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
has beautiful energy and it feels so perfect when I turn it on as it is in that location.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. It's palpable. I mean, the thing is, when you are aligned, There, you absolutely feel it. You know, the frequency of alignment with the right color, the right energy, the right element in that direction. You know, you can measure it with your senses.
And you also can, I do feel, and I know many, many people feel, I know you do too, also the waning energies. So I typically already feel in December that the energies of this year are leaving us in terms of the feng shui year. And I don't always wait until January to place the different cures and enhancers for next year. So I start to place them in December or early January when I feel that a specific energy is disappearing, dissipating,
Mhm.
waning in its effect, and I already feel the new energy coming in.
Very good point. So here's one of your pieces that can enhance this area, the beautiful pink heart with the pink crystals in the middle and the gold background.
Yes, it's so beautiful. I really love it. It's hard to take good photographs of some of the art pieces. It's a beautiful champagne gold with just some amazing rose quartz crystals in the middle. And it would be a perfect cure for the West because the hot pink is a fire element, as I have mentioned, to counteract the coral sun number 3 star. Or you can use metal as well, and metal is the intrinsic original element of the West. So here, in a very friendly, loving piece, you have both elements harmoniously together.
Mhm. I hope you guys are learning a lot, and you're probably starting to get the hang of all this now if you've never been exposed to the flying stars. But I just love it. I think it's amazing. Okay, we move into June now, halfway through the year, and late in the month, we will have Mars in Gemini. So for the majority of the month, Mars will still be in Taurus with that enduring energy. Toward the ends of the month, when it enters Gemini, stays there until August 11th. It's going to energize our mind and our thinking and our communications. On the 29th of June, we're going to have Mercury retrograde, and it's going to begin the retrograde at 26 degrees Cancer. And it will be working with the planet Jupiter at that time. Jupiter will still be in Cancer for that day. The next day, on June 30th, it enters Leo. So the Mercury retrograde and Cancer together, I mean, Jupiter and Cancer together for that day on the 29th, it's very nourishing. You know, it is very much aligned with your intuition, with your sense of family, with your sense of connection and your harmony. Mercury will stay retrograde until July 23rd. But June 30th, Jupiter enters Leo. So I put on screen the mandala that when I created it, I felt like this mandala was accentuating confidence, everything having to Leo with Leo, because you have the gold background and you have just this opening of the heart chakra. So Jupiter in Leo is a game changer. It'll stay in Leo for a year. And during this time, we get to expand our confidence, which flows very nicely with all that Aries energy from Saturn and Neptune.
I also love your Leo mandala, which I wish we would have it. It's upstairs in my son's room. He's a
Mhm.
Leo, and it's so beautiful and red and fiery. That would be a perfect fit. Kathy's earlier Leo mandala for Jupiter in Leo. I also find it so interesting that like how we have the Mercury retrograde in Cancer in July with the first month of Jupiter in Leo. It's almost like this water pulling us back, like, ah,
Yeah,
there is some little unfinished business in
yeah.
this Cancerian realm, or like a bit of a hangover from Jupiter in Cancer as we move into Leo, which will be also dramatic as Leo should be on the world stage. Many countries have prominent Leo placement. Many monarchies have prominent Leo placement. So That will be interesting in the year to come.
Yes, yes, yes. And one thing that's not on screen is there's a full moon in Capricorn on June 29th, the same day Mercury goes retrograde. And what's interesting about that is Mars in Gemini, just 3 degrees away from the conjunction with Uranus. I mean, there's a lot at the end of June. There's a lot of activity, a lot of movement, a lot of change. You always have to manage Mars Uranus conjunctions. It'll be conjunct on July 4th. We're going to get there in a moment, and we'll talk about how to manage this. First, let's look at the feng shui.
So, June is actually a great month from a feng shui perspective, even though you would think astrologically Mercury retrograde is great for writing. And this is great for a publicity push in June. So we can activate the Southwest, which has the number star this year. We can activate it with this sailboat image that has water and metallic element in it. And overall, the Southwest stands for the matriarch, for good relationship energy. So we can use this sector very well in June of 2026 to promote ourselves, specifically if we are women, specifically if you are an online creator in any way or form, or even at work. So just make sure that what Kathy talked earlier about working against or undoing the imposter syndrome. June is the perfect month to keep that in the past and move forward with a new sense of empowerment.
Yes, because again and again in consultation, I find women saying they have a hard time promoting themselves. They shy away from that. And that's because there's been judgment about women who do that. Again, don't brag, don't be too big. But it's time to let that go. It is time to authentically connect with where you have expertise, own it, and it's perfectly fine to market and promote yourself mixed with loving authenticity from within. It's very different than bragging. But so it's nice to see this in June for that purpose.
Yeah. And so in the Southwest, for the period, we have Heaven's Luck energy. So this is why I have mentioned last year that this is a strong period for women's energy, for matriarch energy in 2026. We have the number 7, which is metal into earth. The Southwest is a natural earth energy. And so we resolve this contradiction and with water. So if you can place a little bubbling water feature, if you would like to enhance your own business revenue, if you are a woman business owner, then by all means have not a water fountain, but just like a small water feature where the water actually bubbles out from the middle. It would be very beneficial to bring in the positive and counteract the somewhat challenging energies of the Southwest in the most positive way.
Very nice.
And so for water element, if you don't have the space or the opportunity, or you simply just would not like to place a water feature, although I have to mention that the real element is always stronger. So instead of placing a painting with wood, it's much better to have actual living plants, or to have actual flowing water is so much stronger energetically than a painting that symbolizes water. But nevertheless, if you have no access or no opportunity to place, or you just simply don't want to have water in your home or in your office, my Aqua Abundance painting on screen is very powerful. Again, the photo doesn't give justice the color. When you look at it in person, it feels flowing, moving, mesmerizing, and a perfect cure for the Southwest this year.
I have to say one thing I love about your website and one thing I love about what you post on Instagram is quite often you will post photos of the painting in people's homes, and then you get the scope and the power, and you see it in context as it's hanging on a wall in somebody's homes. Um,
Yes.
and I love that.
Thank you for adding. And also, this is hard to see here, but this is also a very large size piece. And every square has 1,000 brush strokes. So my art pieces are very specific in aspiration because I wanted to have this one to have 9,000 brush strokes.
Wonderful. Okay, July 2026. And we have the birthday, the 250th birthday for the US. It is absolutely fascinating that on that same day, we have Mars and Uranus conjunct. That is a statement that is so strong to have that happening on the same day. I mean, what this is saying is something revolutionary, some kind of big change, some big shifts. It could be in technology, it could be with people in office, could be a lot. But this for the whole world, Mars will be conjunct Uranus. It just happens to be for the birthday of the United States. So personally, the way you need to manage Mars conjunct Uranus in Gemini is to manage your mind. Be aware of your thinking. Place your order with the universe. I frequently will say, it's like you're at the Universal restaurant and you've been handed a menu, and there's a server standing over on the side saying, "What would you like to order?" And if you don't place your order, if you tell the server, "I want food," well, what's the server going to bring you? It may or may not be what you want. Or if you say, "I don't know what I want to order," the universe can't fulfill your desire if you don't order it. So, Mars conjunct Uranus at this time, be aware of placing your order with the universe for what you want. Energize it with your thoughts, talk about it, visualize it, give it energy. And then let's hope for the best with the United States. I don't go into fear with this. I just know there's going to be revolutionary change in some way, movement. It's going to be movement taking place. July 7th, Neptune begins a retrograde at 4 Aries. So just after July 4th, Neptune will reach its peak and then start the retrograde. July 23rd, Mercury ends the retrograde that it started in June, ends it at 16 Cancer. So Mercury goes direct. Saturn begins the retrograde. I mean, we have all these different directions happening. July 26th, Saturn enters the retrograde. It's fascinating to me that Neptune and Saturn will both begin retrogrades in the same month. Really interesting. So we get to internalize what we have been learning about internal locus of control, spiritual self-sufficiency, releasing imposter syndrome. So as those planets begin the retrograde, we get to internalize and make progress on all those issues. And then a big development, July 27th, the nodal axis shift into Aquarius and Leo, supporting, absolutely supporting our sense of confidence, our sense of inner power, and our connection with each other.
Yeah, I just think that it also, the nodes shifting into Aquarius also will revibrate the new moon solar eclipse energy from February,
Yes.
same close degree,
Yes.
28 Aquarius.
And, a lot of that Uranus and Gemini, Pluto and Aquarius, and the AI and how AI is fitting into our lives, that's going to be a big factor. It's
Yeah.
going to be a lot of development. Mars conjunct Uranus and Gemini could be some kind of major technological shift too. We'll
Or
see.
fireworks.
Or fireworks. Yes, many fireworks celebrating, yeah, on many levels. Okay, so tell us about the feng shui.
So I was talking here a little bit about that the number one star flies into the center. This is a very beneficial place. So if you would like to rearrange your home in July, we are halfway through the year. So it's always good to review your feng shui regularly, not only at the beginning of the year, but also when we are almost halfway through. So if you would like to have a business at home or some creative workshop, place it in the middle of your home. It's a good idea to work, or even if you just work on your computer, spend more time in the middle of your space. And then I wanted to talk about the Northwest, where we have number two in 2026. And so this number two star up until 2 years ago in period eight was a not so lucky star. But with the period changing into period nine, it became a luckier star because it became, with the period change, the star of future prosperity.
Mm. Let's talk about this. It's a Wooloo.
Yes, the Vulu is a symbolic health guard. It's almost like as if you would keep healing potions in it or healing liquid medication in it. But it's a metal container, so you can use it symbolically to lock up negative energy if you have it anywhere in the home. And universally, Vulu is a symbol of healing and health. So you can place it in the Northwest in 2026.
And they're easy to find on Amazon. Just Google Wooloo and you'll see these, and they're not that expensive, but
Yeah.
it's interesting. Okay.
And it's good also for low vitality. So the Northwest is a strong sector in period nine, but in 2026, it's lucky in terms of creating future prosperity, long-term gains, investing into real estate, reshuffling your stock portfolio. But nevertheless, we can have low vitality or sort of like a bit of lower energy if we spend too much time in the Northwest. And this is what we can remedy so well with a little wooloo guard or with any metallic decor.
Okay. Or wind chime, six rod wind chime.
Yes.
Okay.
And so for metallic decor, it can be, I love hearts and I really love, like, I created these new shapes. So these hearts are very sculpted, very three-dimensional, and it symbolizes within the painting, but also within the sculpting technique, this growing from the inside out. And I love how it plays together, in the Northwest, not only to counteract negative energies, but to grow them into positive, to turn them into positive. And these hearts are very fiery in person to how they grow out. So also very nice with the Jupiter in Leo energy. And what I find interesting, this piece is very much liked by men clients. And I wonder if they buy it for themselves or for the lady in their lives.
Interesting. And
Very
we see it
interesting.
behind you on the wall.
Yeah, it's for some reason it's a
Mm.
very big hit with guys purchasing hearts.
Ooh, interesting. Okay, so astrology for August. Um, in the middle of the month, Mars will enter Cancer and it will stay there till September 27th. And when Mars is in Cancer, Mars is the action planet, and in Cancer, it's going to send energy into nourishing, nurturing, comforting, family, cooking, making your house smell good, hugs, soft blankets, all of those things, Mars and Cancer. Somebody comes over and you will want to serve them cookies or make sure they're comfortable. Mars and Cancer is so beautiful. I love it when Mars is in Cancer. On top of that, it's eclipse month. There's a solar eclipse new moon, August 12th in Leo. Very different energy than the Mars in Cancer. So you're going to have both streams of energy, the comforting, nurturing Mars in Cancer with this powerful Leo energy. For that eclipse, it's going to be Jupiter and Mercury working together in Leo and Sun and Moon in Leo. So it's dynamic and it's very strong. This is when you want to declare within yourself that you are a loving, wonderful person. You want to believe in yourself. You want to nourish your heart. And you want to live by the mantra, I am love and I attract love, or I radiate love and I attract love. It's very good mantra for August. Later in the month, Sun will conjunct Mercury at 3 degrees Virgo. And when we have Sun Mercury conjunctions, it's a great time to start a new idea. It's a great time to energize your thinking, to place your order with the universe. Very, very strong period, especially because it's going to be squaring Uranus at that time. And then August 28th, the second eclipse. It's a lunar eclipse, full moon at 4 degrees Pisces, squaring the planet Uranus. There's some volatility there for a wave of energy that comes in and shakes loose stagnation. So remember, all these times in this presentation when I've mentioned Mars and Uranus, Pluto and Uranus, or these kinds of energies, um, it releases stagnation. It creates a wave of energy to get rid of stale energy and to have change. So that full moon, even though it's in Pisces, it's square Uranus, and it's going to be saying, get rid of anything you don't need anymore. Eclipse month, powerful time.
Very. And also, Mars in Cancer is so good for the home and, working, energizing, rearranging the home office from feng shui point of view. And so is the Sun conjunct Mercury. Make a decision about decluttering your home. And maybe the lunar eclipse full moon will help you to break through with this idea.
Hmm. Yes. You will love the feeling of change that happens. Yeah.
And so I also mentioned here in feng shui, like these eclipse protocols, like double down in the south part, no digging, put metal cures, and also in the north. And I just also would like to encourage our hopefully younger listeners who are college age or students, even in high school, to use these intense energies of August, which is right before school begins, to create your studying space with strong intentions. If you move away to college, or even if you are just in high school already, be conscious of your environment and create, even using this fun, juicy mango heart or whatever art speaks to you, to make sure that you have positive energy in the space that keeps you motivated throughout the whole entire school year. And do that in August before school starts so that you can hit the ground running and work with high motivations all through the school year.
And I want to say again, we're more than halfway through the year, and I'm sure, experiencing just how much information we're sharing. So I want to plant the seed one more time to encourage you as we go through the year to come back to the video, review what we're saying for each month, um, so that it's fresh in your mind. Okay, September, there's a lot in September. We begin the month with Mars square Saturn. Anytime Mars and Saturn are operating together, um, that just requires discipline in your energy. I'm not afraid of Mars square Saturn. I just know that energy and discipline need to merge. So you're working them together. It does not have to be frustration. September 10th, Uranus begins the retrograde. It will have reached its peak at 5 degrees Gemini. Then it's going to back up to give you a little review and internalize how well you are doing with your thinking, with understanding the role of the subconscious mind and placing your order, and then the subconscious working to bring it about in life. September 10th, there's a new moon in Virgo. And again, I always call the new moons or full moons in Virgo the feng shui moon, because when the moon is in Virgo and you do something like dust the bookshelves in my office, which I don't typically like doing because I have a lot of cool little things and I have to pick them up and dust them. It's very detailed work, but when I do it when the moon is in Virgo, I enjoy it. I enjoy the detail of it. So, I save those kinds of activities for when the moon is in Virgo, and particularly when there is a lunation in Virgo. September 26th, we have a full moon at 3 degrees Aries conjunct Neptune. Now, this is very important um, because this is when you really get a deeper sense of actualizing and determining how well you are doing with releasing imposter syndrome, with internal locus of control, with spiritual self-sufficiency, all of that. So that September 26th full moon in Aries is going to be a time when you're probably going to say, "Good job. I'm really making progress." And I would encourage you to pat yourself on the back. And then the next day after the full moon, Mars enters Leo until November 25th. How beautiful, right? The energy, the activity energy, the motivational energy in Leo is all about shoulders back, head held high, having a confident posture. It's all about gold. It's all about your heart chakra opening up with authenticity. Very powerful time.
And so, with these powerful energies in September, it's a great organizing month. As Kathy has mentioned, we mention every year the new moon in Virgo. We feel the energy to clean, cleanse, declutter. And we can do that this month. I use here this beautiful tree of love in gold, where every leaf is heart shaped with a pink background to bring in some of the energies of Mars in Leo, so somewhat fiery, but also very elegant. And it's a showstopper, just like Mars in Leo would be. And again, we keep the West somewhat suited. We can use this piece. I showed earlier the pink heart with the champagne gold background. Alternatively, this would be another wonderful enhancers. Also, specifically because in universal interpretation, the West rules children. So if you would like to support your children's studies in the fall, this is the perfect answer for that as well.
Nice. All right, so October. What's fascinating about October is the fact that Venus begins a retrograde, and it will start the retrograde in Scorpio, but it will back up into Libra, and Venus is very powerful in Libra. It stays retrograde until November 13th. So as Venus begins the retrograde, this is when you look at your own self-esteem. Do you feel beautiful inside and out? Do you radiate beautiful energy inside and out? It has nothing to do really with how you look. It is, are you radiating your inner beauty? And you get to review that, especially when it retrogrades back into Libra. But it's also going to be a time to review your relationship energy and your connections with people. and your harmonious energy in relationship. And we're going to have Mercury retrograde in October also, but that starts on the 24th. It begins at 20 degrees Scorpio and it stays retrograde until November 13th. So Mercury and Venus will end the retrograde on the same day in November, which is interesting. So the word reprice, repackage, refine, anything that has to do with aesthetics. When we were taking notes on this, Agnes had brought in there'll probably be some financial market news because of all this going on.
Yes, and also to the inner beauty, but I think it's also the physical beauty with um, I'm sorry, with Venus retrograding back into Libra. I think some people will also review and reassess their actual physical looks. Um, of course, it would be not a good time for any major cosmetic surgery with Venus and Mercury retrograding. So please don't do anything drastic during those times. And definitely financial market news with Venus and Scorpio. I mentioned earlier, I think there will be big news with Bitcoin and alternative currencies as we move towards
Mhm,
cashless solutions in many ways, but definitely big financial market news I would expect in October.
mhm. Yeah, with Uranus in Gemini, we may be going more to cashless societies and more electronic currencies going on. Okay.
And October is also when we talk about Venus in Libra. This is associated with the Northeast, with romance. Uh, the Northeast would be a perfect place for meetings in general, for networking luck, but also for art and even for love notes, writing poems, writing books, writing love songs in 2026 is strongly emphasized with the number four romance star being in the Northeast. It can be, in fact, part of your self-development process. And I just wanted to bring up in October the Northeast and the Northwest as the 2 and 4 stars. And when we go to the next slide, we can talk more about that.
So, in November, when Venus goes direct on the 13th and Mercury goes direct, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel what you've been working on that was internalizing in October and November, maybe a sense of clarity, maybe decisions that you're making, relaunching offers with polished visuals. So if you have gone through in October and you have reviewed, are you presenting yourself the way you want? Are you presenting your product if you're in business? Does your website really show who you are? October would be the time to be reviewing all that, and in mid-November would be the time to be releasing it. Um, and certainly in the middle part of the month, November 16th, Mars and Jupiter conjunct at 26 Leo. Oh, that's glorious. That is so much golden, confident, powerful energy if used well. Of course, it can move into being arrogant and brassy, but it doesn't have to. You can use it with your heart chakra wide open. Leo is leadership energy. So as Jupiter is in Leo, we get to ask ourselves, can I embrace leadership energy? Am I able to lead and inspire others? Don't shy away from it. November 24th, full moon at 2 degrees Gemini conjunct Uranus. Again, we're going to have close to the time of Thanksgiving in November in the United States. With the lunation conjunct Uranus, it's going to be a time to um, make sure you're not stagnant or stale. Make sure your thinking is fresh. Make sure you are activating your mind and learning something new. It's a very powerful time for engaging your brain and expanding your beliefs. And then November 25th, Mars enters Virgo and it's going to retrograde in 2027. So when we do the 2027 forecast, Agnes, see, I'm manifesting here. I haven't asked her if she wants to do it together, but I'm manifesting. We will be talking about this Mars and Virgo going retrograde in 2027 and the delicious energy that offers in feng shui.
Yes, and it's going to be a fantastic year, 2027. We will have the yearly numbers and the monthly and the period numbers perfectly aligned all year long. So, in a way, it will be a double whammy of the energies. And so, back to November, I'm really so curious what the new moon solar eclipse in February will bring, because that energy, I feel it comes back over and over again, throughout the year. We have seen this in the solar eclipse in February, the lunations in July, August. Now the same degree, more or close within 2 degrees, more Jupiter at 26 Leo. So I feel whatever is being started or being put out on a humanitarian world stage in February will be worked on throughout the year and will be enhanced by Jupiter in Leo at various points
Mhm.
throughout the year.
Yes, and November in 2026 is a big election year in the United States, and that could change a lot also. And one way or the other, I think it's going to be beautiful. I don't predict what's going to happen with politics, but I feel so good with this energy in November. It just brings a sense of hope to me. And thank you for bringing up the fact that Mars Jupiter conjunct in Leo is going to reactivate that eclipse in February. Absolutely.
And so November is a time along the same lines, to really look at the last quarter business-wise of the year and prioritize the North with its number 6 energy for Heaven's Luck, and the Southeast with number 9, which creates more revenue. So you can manifest and physically, tangibly create your year-end gains in the month of November and December, emphasizing the North and emphasizing the Southeast. Um, this is one of my personal favorites, the three sheep on the mountain. I love this optimistic, brilliant blue and the three sheep that come out on the mountaintop when winter is over. So they are hungry, there is no food during winter, and they come out in the spring and they find food, they find optimism, they find forward thinking positive energies, and that very much aligns with the astrology of November.
Mm, nice. Okay, so we begin December with Mars square Uranus. Again, the theme of shaking loose whatever is stale or stagnant, embracing change, moving forward with your thoughts, but with your physical actions also. And in December, Saturn ends the retrograde at 7 degrees Aries and goes direct. So all that energy is going to be coming forward. But Jupiter begins the retrograde at 27 Leo, again, that degree being highlighted. Um, so that's an internalization process that takes place there. And then we get this beautiful piece of art on screen. I'll let you explain.
Flying away from 2026 into 2027 with the golden cranes through this very specific pathway, which means that we can close the year by clearing center pathways. We still have to keep the south calm through the new year. And we will continue with refreshing the cures at the end of December or early January. That's going to be another fiery year, the year of the fire goat. I love how that echoes the Saturn in Aries. Saturn in Aries, first year in the fire horse. Saturn in Aries, second year in the fire goat. So we still have similar energies, and we can close the year by releasing what's no longer serving us and flying high and flying hopeful into the continuation of the energies of 2026.
Very powerful time. So next, as I promised in the beginning, we are going to talk about how to enhance love now. So Agnes is going to share with us expanding and enhancing love in your life for 2026.
I think that 2026 will be just a very steady, strong, earthy energy in terms of love, as the Northeast itself is an earthy energy. So we can start new relationships that last. And if you would like to invite a new lasting relationship into your life, you would need to activate the Northeast. That stands for love, creativity, and academic pursuits. And we can do that with the wood element, as I have mentioned before, with the sugar cane, sugar cube, sweet harmony art. But if you would like to have even more, you can use also water to nourish wood, to have love growing into your life. Don't use too much fire this year here, because this weakens the wood energy. But simply, if you just would like to place a beautiful plant, even better, two plants that sort of touch each other, next to each other, would bring some very specific energy into growing love in 2026. And I think we have one more. Yes. And so placing everything in pairs. So if you would like to invite a new love relationship into your life in 2026, just place two of everything, two hearts, two mandarin ducks, everything double in the Northeast to symbolize the energy of pairs, everything being in one pair.
And those hearts are beautiful. Wow, they're so powerful. All right. So here's our contact information again. And please know that if you want a feng shui consultation from Agnes, she can do that even if you are on the other side of the world. Thanks to Zoom and thanks to this kind of connection we can have, she can do a feng shui consultation and work with you to help enhance this personally for you. So get in touch. And as the year goes on, we're probably going to be breaking up small segments of this and placing them as reels on Instagram and Facebook. But go back and just review the month that you may need so that you can energize and enhance your own life. And here we are. We finished the year. Whew.
Thank you so much, Kathy. This was wonderful. I know everybody, it was a lot of information, but you just can go back and review parts of it. And Kathy and I are here. If you have any questions, post in the comment, and we are more than happy to get back with you as soon as we can if you have any questions. Have an amazing, fantastic, blessed, beautiful, fun, adventurous 2026.
Expand and grow and radiate your love. So many blessings and much love to all of you. And we will see you on a monthly basis or a weekly basis if you look at our forecast energies that we post. Bye for now, everyone.
Bye. Bye.